This is Tom with Paratus Northwest. Appendix carry has really taken over in the concealed carry crowd the last year or so, and I've been trying it out myself for going on 18 months now. Now, why appendix carry in the first place? The first primary benefit for me was comfort. Believe it or not, this is actually an extremely comfortable place to carry your firearm on your body, regardless of your body type. Second is concealability. You can see hardly any printing there. I can bend over, I can get something up off a high shelf. I don't have to worry about my shirt riding up, showing my gun to anybody that I don't want to see. Second, I used to carry around about 4 o'clock inside waistband. I developed a nasty little habit of doing this one all the time. It's a telltale sign that I'm carrying to people that I don't want to know. Also, you got the hug zone, right? Everybody's got people that are family members, co-workers, whatever. You're close enough to them for them to hug you, not close enough that you necessarily want them to know that you're packing. This area is a hug zone. Nobody's hugging me here unless they already know I have a gun. Another benefit would be security. This is a very, very secure place to carry my firearm. Nobody can come up behind me and grab this. If I do get in a wrestling match, a tussle for my gun, all I have to do, bend over like this. This gun is not coming out. My whole body, my whole core is keeping this gun solid. Back here, all I have to fight with is one arm. And the last benefit, maybe one of the most important, is the actual draw. It's extremely fast access right here, as opposed to back here. Much more casual motion and a lot quicker to get onto your grip. You can draw from a seated position. If I'm seated in my truck, seated in my office, I can still reach this holster, pull out, get on target. It's also very non-threatening. If you're in a confrontation in a parking lot, somebody rear ends you, you get out, you're talking about it, he's heated, he's drunk, whatever, and he's looking at you, yelling, you're trying to de-escalate the situation without drawing your gun, like any responsible citizen. If I start to do this one because it starts escalating, this is a very, very threatening manner. I don't care if you're in the gun world or not, everybody's seen somebody go like this to get their gun in a movie. However, I can go like this, maintaining eye contact, probably not even going to draw his eye down there, and I'm right quick to my gun if I need it. So, lots of benefits to appendix carry. What's the big risk? Well, as with any type of carrying a firearm, there's always the risk of it going off unintentionally. We call that negligent discharge. Obey the safety rules at all times, it won't happen. However, if I'm carrying on my hip, I have a negligent discharge. Worst that could happen is probably some damage to my buttocks, maybe a bullet into my calf. It's going to suck, it's going to ruin my day, probably not going to kill me. I'm out on the range doing draws like this, and I inadvertently fire one. There's a lot of blood flow in this area, a lot of arteries. Pretty much anything I hit down there is going to be fatal within a couple minutes. That's the biggest consideration. For some people, that's enough to say that this is not a smart way to carry. Like I said, I've been carrying for about 18 months now. What are some of the tips that I've figured out to make it comfortable, make it something I can do all day, every day, no matter the situation? First would be the actual position of the carry. You'll notice it's slightly off-centered. It's not straight at 12 o'clock. There's certain man parts that get in the way at 12 o'clock. Go slightly off-center, and I aim for the rear sight being in line with my belly button right here. When I sit down, that rear sight is actually in my belly button. I've learned that wearing an undershirt, something like this, underneath it at all times, is pretty much a requirement. It is not comfortable having this gun, especially with aggressively bladed rear sight like I have on this Glock. Not comfortable against your skin. Put this shirt there, all the difference in the world. However, I still wear another 2 shirts. Notice I have a long sleeve and a t-shirt. Definitely not required, but it helps a lot with the printing. Doesn't print very much at all. If I really try to make it print, you can see the outline of the grip right there. One of the benefits of this carry is that this is not an area that people in our culture tend to look at anyways. You don't glance at other people's crotches as much as you will see them walking away from you and maybe see printing happening in the 4 o'clock area. I've also went through a couple different holsters. My favorite is this option by Blade Tech. We'll put a link down in the description for you. This is a relatively inexpensive holster. There's 2 important things that I like about it. Number 1, it's rigid. This is a thermoplastic material, it doesn't collapse, molds, has good retention. That's very important because a striker fired gun has no external safeties other than the trigger safety. when an NG could possibly happen is this trigger getting pressed inadvertently while I go into the holster. In a rigid holster, as long as I'm clear of obstructions, that's not going to happen. A collapsible neoprene, leather, something like that might catch the trigger, might cause a discharge. Lastly, you'll notice there's one contact point. This has one belt clip on it, doesn't have two. I prefer that for comfort reasons. I've learned after sitting 12 hours a day at a desk in front of a computer, an 8-hour road trip in my truck, whatever, I like to be able to have that freedom of moving this gun around a little bit. Shifting it slightly. Still secure, still safe, but I can move it around. In 2-point holsters, that's not going to happen. If you decide to go with appendix carry, it's a great way to go. Works great for all body types. Allows you to carry a pretty good sized gun. This is a Glock 23, and it's a great way to go as long as you're safe and take the risks into consideration.